So good morning, everyone. So what was the last discussion in our previous class? So can anyone tell what was the last discussion in our previous class?
Late finish.
Late finish. Did we start late finish? I think we just defined what is late finish. Is it right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So we are yet to solve the problems on. Correct. So now I remember. Uh, okay. So basically, in the organization, if you have to consider project is one of the important aspect, correct? So right from the inception is right from the inception in the sense like right from the inception of the product, inception of the idea. If you have to say before the product is developed, market research is being conducted in order to determine the needs and wants of the customers, correct? So conducting the market research itself in itself can be considered as one of the project, correct? So once the data is being analyzed and report is being written and the ideas are being moved on by the project by the marketing manager, the production manager, correct? So what will happen is the product gets manufactured by the company, and those products actually accommodates or see that it considers actually all the needs and wants of the customers. So the production activity starts in the company by considering all the needs and wants and the preferences of the customer. So this itself is another project wherein the manufacturing process itself can be considered as one of the project. So once the product is being manufactured, the product is being transported to different warehouses as well as the retail outlets. So this transportation and uh, the transportation aspect can be considered as another project. Is it right? So this is basically these are the different applications of the project. So when we call a project, there will be a list of activities, and a list of activities is are always managed by different type of the project managers. Correct. So the project manager's main responsibility is to see that the scheduling is being properly being managed. Uh, Scheduling in the sense the start and the end of each of the activities. Okay. Um, so this is basically yes. So basically, if you have to see, uh, scheduling means what is how to manage the start and the end of the activity. So scheduling means it is about managing the start and the end of the activities. So take out any type of the resumes of the project managers. You will find the main role of the project manager is to scheduling, to maintain the schedule of each of the activities of the project. Okay, so this is all about the early start as well as the early finish. So what we'll do in today's classes, we'll solve some few problems on the said topic, and from there on, topic. We'll take the discussion. Uh, okay, so okay, so we'll consider one of the example, that is example one. Example one can be So example one can be am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically, we'll have activity and duration in days, and finally description. Okay. Uh, so activity can be on there. First, we'll see what are the different descriptions. We'll consider the same example like what we had considered in the previous problem. Correct. Or yes, so possibly we can have one more example wherein we had in the previous year, if you remember, we had the institute that is JK Shim had actually conducted one of the conferences, right? So that conference can be considered as one of the project, correct? So there can be a different list of activities which you can find in this particular project. One is deciding. So do not make note of the list of activities. Once I confirm, once I have written the whole list of activities, then you can just make note of it. Until then, you just observe what I'm writing. Okay? Deciding the conference. So first is conference theme is being decided. Next, today. So I think 1-2, or else what we can do is. So that is the reason I'm just asking you to wait for some time, because there will be some sort of shuffling of activities. First, we can decide the budget of conference. Is that right? So first thing is the head of the institute actually decides the budget. What should be the budget of the conference? Next, 2-3 activity. 2-3 activity can be now the institute can start to decide the theme for the conference. Theme for the conference. Theme means what? The theme can be anything. It can be about the budget, about the theme of for the project. Okay, so decide the theme for the conference. So the theme can be anything. It can be based on the budget, the union budget is being proposed here, or the conference can be about how to manage the Indian economy after this pandemic. So that can be in there, or it may be on the HR issues. So how to maintain the mental health of the employees, correct? In an organization, in any type of organization, or it can be on a finance, like any type of recent development of finance, so on and so forth. What happens is a particular theme is being decided. Once that is being decided, what will happen is different papers, researchers are invited, and they are asked to come to our institute, and they are asked to present their papers, research art, like what you did in your previous semester. So you had selected one of the topic like comparison of a mobile or a Domino's or whatever it was. You compared two different brands and you tried to prepare the presentation. You presented in front of n number of students, and got different type of inputs. Similar thing will be done here also. Different paper presenters will be called from different part of country, and they'll be asked to present in front of the judge or so on and so forth, and the comments will be given to them so that they can, and also the ideas will be taken, and on that different types of the discussions will be taking place, correct? So all these things happen in the conference, and that is basically the objective. The objective of the conducting the conference is basically to brainstorm different ideas on the said topic. That is the main objective, correct? The 2-3 activity can be to decide the theme for the conference. Next is once the theme is decided, uh, plan plan the format of conference brochure. So there will be a conference brochure. So that brochure, what it does is it includes all the information about the program which is conducted in the conference. Okay, next 4-7. 4-7. 4-7 can be circulate the brochure to the participants, to the paper presenters. Is it right? So do not make note of all these things until I finish. So where did we stop? Okay, so we can start with 2-6. 2-6 can be mixed activity, duration, and the description. So simultaneously, we can start with some other activities. 2-6, formulating the formulating formulating the faculty committee. Faculty committee means what? Group of faculties to carry out different works in the conference. Okay, so one will be responsible for taking in charge of accommodation. One will be in charge of reviewing the papers which is being collected from different type of the paper presenters. Okay, 6+7. 6+7 can be formulating student committee. Formulating student committee for the conduct of for the coordination of conference program. Okay, and finally 7-8, you can say 7-8 is conduct of conference. Okay, so these are the list of activities. Now, do you understand how to formulate the sequence? So this is something which we have seen in the previous year. This is the program which was conducted in the previous year. Okay, so the same thing can be converted into the project itself. So deciding the budget, I think I have not considered all the activities. So this is just briefly some activities are being considered for our convenience, for the sake of our convenience. Okay. So still there are many activities you can find, but not all are being considered in this example. So first activity, we can say that it takes 10 days. Next, deciding the theme for conference. This is a planning phase of conference. So possibly we can consider 25 days for this. Deciding the theme for conference. Planning the format of conference brochure. This is again another planning 25 days. Circulate the brochure. This again takes some more time. Okay, 30 days of time. So once this is done, formulating the faculty team, this may not take much time. We can say that it only takes 4 days of time. Students group also it may take some 2 days of time. Finally, conduct of conference. So conference is usually of 2 days. So this is the complete project. Okay. So now, are you getting an idea of how to formulate the list of activities? So now you can just make note of all these activities, the description of the same, and then we will see how to calculate the different parameters for the project act. Now you can take note of all this. Is there any type of doubts? Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So these are the list of activities. So just make note of all these activities. So there are still some more activities which can be included in this particular project. That is accommodation, planning the accommodation for the participants and their food, and similarly food arrangements, travel arrangements. So again, that can be considered here. So scheduling of the program, planning the schedule of the program, that can be another activity in this particular project. So like this, there can be a number of activities that can be included, and a comprehensive project can be formulated by using this type of by using this type of the project network. Actually, a project manager can do the activities simultaneously. So that is basically the benefit. So these are the different list of activities. We'll just go for the next page. In case if anyone wants to go back to the previous screen, we can just communicate the same thing to me. Possibly we have skipped the fifth node. Fifth node is not there. So, but that doesn't matter because the sequence of the node is not of prime importance for us, right? You can number it anyways. Nodes are only the representation of the start and the end of the activity, while sequence of the node is not of a priority for us. You can name it anyways. In some of the problems, you can see that the sequence is like this: 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So this can also be the number of nodes, correct? You can number the nodes in this fashion also. So the sequence of the node is not that important. Only that the start and the end of the activity has to be properly indicated. That's it. Okay, so I assume that this is, you have made note of this. If you are not
Yes, sir.
made, yes, thank you for confirming. If you are not made note of this, you just communicate the same so that I can just go back to the previous screen. All right, so the question is, the previous, I will just go to the previous screen in order to write the question. There is no space. That case, we just continue the question statement. Okay, so draw the project network. Draw the project network. And once you have drawn the project network, determine the early start, early finish for each of the activities. Okay, so this is something which we require. So before we go ahead, we'll draw the network diagram. So can anyone tell how to place the nodes? First comes node 1, there is no doubt in it. First comes node 1. Next. So what should come next after node 1?
2.
Okay. And what about the third node? Where is that to be placed? In the same line?
2 to 3.
Line itself. What about the fourth node? Should it be in the same line or above or below?
Same line.
Same line.
Same line, sir.
4 is done. Next. Fifth node is not there. What about the next? Sixth node? Should it be placed above or below? Or should it be in the same line?
Below.
Below should be sixth node. But possibly I do not have space. I will just go. I will write it here. Okay. Next, 4 to 6, is it right?
No, sir. It is 2 to 6.
4 to 7.
4 to 7. Okay. 2 to 6. 2 to 6. And 4 to 7. 7 should be in the same line. 6 dash 7, correct?
Yes.
And the last node is 8.
7 dash.
Okay. So this is basically the activity diagram. Next, what are the different durations? 1 dash 2 is how much?
10.
10.
10. 2 dash 2 dash 3,
25.
25. Okay.
3 dash 4, 25.
3 dash 4, 25.
4 dash 7, 30.
Next, 2 dash 6,
6, 2.
also 2, I guess.
7 dash 8, 2 dash.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is basically the network diagram. Okay. Yes. So now what we'll do is we are asked to determine the early start for each of the activities. Correct. Now activity means what? It is nothing but it is represented by the start and the end node. Correct. So what is being done? Start and the ending node. So what is being done here is we first determine the so we are supposed to determine the start time for each of the nodes. Why this is done? Because each of the activities are being represented by their start and the end node. So we can make out the existence of the activity only by their node. What is being done here is the nodes early start of each of the node is being calculated. Okay, so first step is we calculate the early start for each node. Very important. It is not activity. First, we calculate early start for each node. Okay, so in order to calculate the early start for each of the activity for each of the activities. Okay, for each of the activity, uh, we first determine the early start for each uh, we yes we determine the early start for each node. Why this is being done? Because activities are nothing but it consists of nodes. Okay, so that is the reason this statement is being written here. So first we are going to write the early start for each node. So first we start with early start for node 1, which is equal to 0. Now why it is 0? Because it is the same for all problems. It is the same for all the problems. Okay, are you getting this? E1 is equal to early start for node 1, it is equal to 0. What it means is any activity starting from the first node will be having the will be starting on the 0th day, 0th point of time, 0th second, 0th minute. Is it right? So 0 will be the reference point. Why? Because if you consider 1 as a reference point, from 1, if you take 4 days of time, then it completes on the 5th day, basically. So that should not happen. So just for the convenience of our calculation, what is being done is E1 is considered as equal to 0. Okay, that means any activity starting on the first day, it is starting on the 0th point of time. It is starting from the 0th point of time. Okay, are you getting the meaning of this? So always for all the problems, it is the same. E1 is equal to 0. Okay, just make note of this. Once this is being noted, we'll go for the next calculation. So you can just make note of whatever I have written on the white screen, and from there on we will continue the problem. Okay, so I assume that you have written this. Simultaneously, if there is any doubts, you are supposed to ask. Okay, all right. So just going ahead. Going ahead. Next, calculate early start for node. So how do we start? How to calculate E2 is nothing but see here. So what is the duration of 1-2 activity? Can anyone tell? The duration
10.
of 10 days.
10.
Okay, 10 days. Okay, so only one activity finishes on node 2, and that is activity 1-2. Is it fine? So activity 1-2 finishes on node 2. Okay, is it fine? So duration of 1-2 is equal to 10 days. Activity 1-2 starts from node 1. Okay, so here what is being done is we are trying to determine how early we can start the activity that starts from the second node. That means we want to determine what is E2. We know what is E1. E1 is 0. What we also know what is the duration of 1-2 activity, that is 10 days. Correct. So what is being told here is only one activity finishes on this particular node, that is 1-2. Only one activity, that is 1-2, finishes on node. This is the finish point of this activity. Is it right? The finish point of 1-2 activity is this, and only one activity finishes on node 2. So the duration of that activity is 10 days. And this activity basically starts from node 1. So if you have to see, this is node 1, correct? So that is the reason we consider the value of E1. So just make note of this, then we'll go for the next explanation. So if you identify these two aspects, our calculation is done. Okay, so I'm just going for the next screen. If anyone wants me to go back to the previous screen, you can just tell the same thing to me so that I can just go back. So since 1-2 activity starts from the node 1, therefore we consider E1 to calculate E2. Therefore E2 is equal to E1 plus duration of 1-2 activity. What is E1? Can anyone tell?
Zero.
E1 is 0. And what is duration of 1-2?
10,
How much?
10 days.
10 days. So totally, E2 is equal to 10 days. How this was calculated? Basically, only one activity finished. Only one activity finished on this second node. This is the finish point. Okay, and only one activity finished on node 2, and the duration of that is 10 days. And starting point is the first node, and the E1 is 0. So 0 plus 10 is 10. Getting this? So any doubts here?
No, sir.
Okay. If there is any doubts, you can just put the same message in the chat box. Simultaneously, you can just make note of the same explanation what I have written on the whiteboard. Okay. Simultaneously, you can also try with E3 and E4 calculation. And when I actually write E3, you can just help me in writing the equation. Okay. So if anyone wants me to go back to the previous screen, you can just tell me. I will go back
So can you
Uh,
go back to the previous one?
previous. All right. Is this the one which you wanted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So simultaneously, some of you can calculate E3 and just see what should be the starting node for the activity that finishes on the third.
Done, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll go for the next one. E3. So E3 is the early start for node E. And the activity that finishes on the third node. So which activity finishes on the third node? Can anyone tell? Which activity finishes on node 3?
2.
2 in the sense 2-3.
Yes.
Yes. So
E2
usually,
finishes on E3.
yes. So basically, if you have to see, only 2-3 activity finishes on node 3. Now this activity starts from node 2. Is it right? So this is 2. And this is 3. Correct. So only 2-3 activity finishes on node 3. 2-3 activity is finishing on node 3, and this activity starts from node 2. The starting point of this activity is node 2. correct? So that is the reason we formulate the next equation. Can anyone tell what is the equation for E3?
E1 plus E2 plus E3.
Okay, okay. So just wait, do not calculate it. So just write whatever. Yes. Yes, any other answer?
E2 plus time
Correct.
taken from 2 to 3.
Correct. So the equation for E3 should be, so the equation for E3 should be E2 plus duration of 2-3. Why we are not considering E1? Because E1 is already considered in calculating E2. Is it right? Now, if we consider E1 again in calculation of E3, then what will happen is there will be a duplication. You are considering E1 twice this time. That is not required. So that is the reason in calculation of E3, we have to only consider E2. Is it right? So E1 is not required again because it is already included in the calculation of E2. All right. So here the equation for E3 should be E2 plus E3 should be E2 plus E3 should be equal to E2 plus duration of 2 dash B. E2 is how much?
10,
10. And the duration of 2 dash 3?
25.
25 days. 35 days should be the value of E3. Any doubts until now? So those who have already understood this can calculate E4 and tell me the equation for E4. Simultaneously, those who have not understood can ask me if there are any type of questions. I assume that you have made note of the notes, whatever I have given. Next, E4 calculation. What the E4? Can anyone tell? The equation for E4?
E3 plus duration from 3 to 4.
E3 plus duration of 3 dash 4. Does everyone agree with this particular equation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, correct. So this is the right equation. What is E3?
35,
35. Duration?
25,
25. Answer?
60.
Correct.
60.
Correct. Answer is 60. That's right. I hope the explanation is not required for the E4 calculation. Why? Because even in the examination, it is not required. Okay. Answer is required. Is it right? So E4 is calculated. What is next? E5. Fifth node is not there. So we'll calculate E6 and leave it at that. So E7, we will do it in the next class. That is tomorrow's class. So can anyone tell what will be the equation for E6? How much is
E2 plus duration from 2 to 6.
E2 plus duration of 2 days? So shall I go to the next screen? In case if it is noted down.
Yes.
So in case if anyone wants me to go back, just tell me, because I will not know who has made more duration of 2 dash 6. What is E2?
10.
10. Duration?
2 days.
Correct. So that means what, within 12 days we can finish some of the activities. Correct. But simultaneously other activities are also going on. Correct. Which we have already calculated by E4, E5. So right now we will not get into the interpretation. It will be very soon. This is very early stage where we are trying to interpret the result. So let us not interpret the results right now. We'll just calculate the values for different nodes. Once we determine the early start for each of the activities, then we'll start interpreting the results. Okay. So if there is any doubts, you can just
Sir,
ask. Yes.
what about 4 to 5 is not there?
Yes. Fifth node is not there. Correct. Fifth node is not there. So we have skipped fifth node. Directly we have come to sixth. Out of
So 4 to 5th node will also be 60 days.
is the fifth
It
node?
will be same as E4.
Wait. What did you say?
E5 will be same as 4th node.
No, there is no fifth node itself. So this is the network diagram, correct? So we do not have fifth node in this.
Yes, sir.
So we need not calculate E5.
Okay.
Correct. So the nodes which are there in the project network, only those for those nodes we are supposed to calculate. Is sufficient. Okay. So I do not see any doubts even in the chat box. So I assume that I have understood. So if there is any doubts, you can ask. So the last, that is E7 is left out, which we will do it in the next class. Why? Because for E7 calculation, 2 different activities are required. 2 different calculations are required, which we will do it in tomorrow's class. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And yes,
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
thank you. Class years are supposed to give the absent.
Okay, sir.
Okay.